Hello friends, my name is Ana Karen and welcome to Beautiful Revival. Today I'm going to share with you the reasons why we decided to homeschool. Hello friends, so this is going to be a video that will be part of a series on how-tos for homeschoolers, right? And I wanted to begin this series with the most important part, the why. Why do we homeschool? And I do have four main reasons, so let's go ahead and begin. The first reason for me is faith and obedience. I wanted to make sure that I share with you guys, and I feel like this is a verse that everybody, or at least most homeschoolers are kind of geared towards, and that is in Deuteronomy 6:7. And it says, "You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise." So in here, the Bible is talking about how the word of God should be taught to our children at all times, right? And for me, this is something that hit home very, very deep, because as a single mom and as a working mom, I noticed that my days were consumed between my job and, her going to school, getting dropped off, coming back home, and the amount of time we were together, and actually had the time to dig into the word and do real studies and real discipleship wasn't that many. I heard somewhere that it's like 75% of your kids' day it's spent with peers in an institution, right? Like a public school, private school, whatever the case may be for you. And that just, it made me sad, because 75% of her day, no thank you. Like, I don't know about you, but I want to spend as much time with her. And although I know that we all have obligations, this was something that was very important to me, because it wasn't just my desire to spend time with my daughter, but it was my calling, right? Like, God is very clear in the Bible of how it is our obligation, it is our duty to be teaching and discipling our children. So to me, this wasn't just, I'm going to bring her home and I'm going to teach her, basic math and things like that. It wasn't just school. It was a discipleship and the importance of the time spent doing that. And her going to a public school didn't allow me or give me the freedom to have that time. Now for number two, I'm looking down because I do have notes, so please excuse me. But number two would be worldview and discipleship. Again, I wanted to make sure that I was sharing with her truth, beauty, and goodness of the world through the lens of God's word. That was so important to me. In the culture nowadays, kids go to school and everything is very anti-God. However, your view may be, but for me, it was so important that she was able to look at the world through a biblical worldview. That was so important. And as much as I can do from home when she was going to a public school, it wasn't going to be enough. And she was getting to an age where, she kept asking questions. She started asking questions about, why are dinosaurs, the dates in the Bible different from what I'm being told by my teacher? And when questioning her teachers about it, their response was never friendly or truthful, really, right? And you can't expect the teachers to disciple your children, but at the same time, their hearts need to be ready to be able to receive certain information. And I wanted to protect her heart. I wanted to protect her innocence, and I wanted to put truth in her heart as her heart is growing, as she's maturing every single day. That was just so important to me. I know that, a lot of people say, well, you have to send your kids out and have them be light in the world. And I agree with that. But how can you send a child out into the world when they're barely learning and growing? Does that make sense? And I think this goes back to my personal testimony for why it was so important, right? So I grew up in a Christian church until like middle school almost, and that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And my mom, thought, hey, that's great. She's getting Bible studies at the school and whatever. But once I stepped into the world, things were different. And I wasn't ready, because going to a Christian church also isn't enough. Discipleship doesn't come from the teacher. It doesn't come from that institution. It starts at home. It has to be mom and dad that are the ones that are discipling. And if that's not happening, you're not giving your kids roots that are strong enough to go out there. And how can a young child, that's starting their walk with God, truly have those roots ready? Again, this is my personal opinion. This is not to kind of shame you or make you feel bad if that's not, something that you are able to do, because I do understand a lot of parents have a hard time being able to homeschool. But it's something, like I said, I feel like that's my calling personally, and I feel like that's what the Lord is calling all of us. And it's being very clear about the way that we need to be discipling and the importance of the discipleship. The third reason, it was family culture and freedom, right? So I wanted to reclaim my family culture. I wanted to, my entire channel, right? Like you can see it. The whole point of it is the beautiful revival of reclaiming culture for Christ. And this is how I do it in my family every day. By taking my kids back, taking control of their education, of their discipleship, and trying to build a different bond, not a 25% a day type of bond where we have to deal with, extracurricular activities, homework, showers, bedtime routine, and then boom, they're gone. And sometimes just a quick conversation at dinner was not enough for me. I wanted to make sure that from the moment she woke up to the moment that she went to bed, things were different. I didn't want a rush. I didn't want it to be go, 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 go all day. I wanted my home to have peace. I wanted my home to have purpose. And I wanted her learning to not be just performance. And she's always done great in school, and that's a blessing, right? She's always loved to learn. But it was everything performance. There was no joy in it. And more than anything, I wanted her to learn to love it, but also learn that everything that we do, we need to do it as if we're doing it unto God, right? So we reach excellence, or we aim for excellence, not because we want to be the smartest in the class, not because, if I'm smart, I'm powerful, or I'm going to get the best career. No, but I want to learn to become something better and be able to serve the Lord. And I can see God in everything, from math to science, every piece of the learning. That's the way that I'm teaching her. I can see God in the books that I'm reading. I can see God when I'm learning about animals and the weather and economics and absolutely everything. I feel like, in my view and in my belief, is God is the center of it all, and everything else comes after, right? Like the way I handle my finances, I need to put God first and follow the same principles that the Bible is teaching me. And if you do that, well, guess what? There's going to be order, and things will be better. Same thing, multiplication, division, all of that. I wanted her to be able to see God in it, because I didn't want her to feel like God was separate from her education. God was separate from her daily life. God wasn't just a prayer in the morning and I go about my day, or a Sunday type of faith. I wanted it to be 24/7. My world is the Lord, and from there, everything else comes. And that's just how I believe that life should be. And yeah, so I wanted to do that. And then my fourth one was individual growth and relationships. That's what I wrote. So I believe every child is different, right? And I think most parents can agree with that. If you have a lot of kids, you definitely can agree with that. I only have one, but I believe every kid is different. And when she was going to public school, she tends to be advanced for the grades that the public school gives, right? Or according to, the standards of the public school. Currently, because we are through a charter, she's like testing 6th grade. I don't believe in grades. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But because she was advanced, she was getting bored. And I would notice that a lot. And unfortunately for her teacher, she would spend hours throughout the day. Like if you add it up, it's hours of her just trying to get everybody to catch up or be quiet or pay attention. And this meant that Mia would just sit bored, and I would be like, hey, what did you learn? Well, I mean, I didn't learn much. Like, so-and-so was talking, so-and-so hit each other, so-and-so disrespected the teacher in this way. And instead of being, she was coming home happy because she got to be in a place where it's all about learning, it became, she was coming home and complaining like, my head hurts, the kids are out of control, there was bullying involved, so it's like all the joy was completely being sucked out of the funness of learning. So I wanted to make sure that as I brought her home, she started to realize the beauty of learning. She started to realize how enjoyable it is to be able to do your math without, a teacher, yelling at 10, 15, 20 other kids because they just can't, sit or do their work. Now, I do understand that if you have a lot more kids, there might be a little bit of chaos, but the reality is you have control over how you're raising your kids. You don't have control over what your child is going to be exposed when they're in a public or private school. You don't have control. You don't have control to pick how you want the kids that are in that school or classroom, to be raised, right? You have control of what your home looks like. And that was very important to me. Also, what she was going to be exposed to. And the most important part, well, not the most important part, but like one of the main reasons why I did it was it drew us closer, right? So I've been able to see her pray. I've been able to see her grow in the Lord. I've been able to teach her and grow with her as we went through multiplications and divisions and all these different things. And it has been so amazing. I cannot express enough the joy that it brings to my heart being part of that. Being able to see the woman that she's, becoming every single day. And mind you, she's 10 right now. And we started homeschooling when she started her 3rd grade. And I did get to homeschool a little bit when she was younger, and then pandemic and all of that. But now as she's getting older and she's learning more things, being able to share that with her has been just life-changing. And this brings me to the closing, right? This is not to say that homeschooling is easy. Not at all. I genuinely believe homeschooling will sanctify you because it's going to show you your flaws, the shortcomings, right? But it's also going to show you God's grace. It's going to show you how He fills in those gaps. And it's going to create such a strong bond with your children because you're part of it all. And like I said, it's not going to be easy. Some days they're going to wake up in a bad mood and it's going to be hard, right? And I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, but it's hard because I can't separate the mother from the teacher. Well, you're not replicating the school. You're the person that is discipling them. You're the mother. So automatically you're the teacher because who taught them how to go potty? Who taught them how to blow their nose? You are their teacher naturally. You were always meant to be. You just get to teach them now history. And you get to choose whether you teach science, history from the truth or whether you choose it differently. And as Christians, I think it's so important that if we believe in our Bibles, if we're going to sit here and say, I believe in the Bible, I believe in salvation, I believe in Jesus Christ, then you believe in the entire Bible. And why would you confuse your children telling them that the world is millions and millions of years old? Why would you allow for confusion to happen? Now, that's not to say that they shouldn't learn that, because I feel like it's so important that they do. But I feel like start with the truth and then go up from there. And being able to do that, in my case at least, has led to so much growth, not just in her, but in me. The sanctification that we go through as moms is so intense, but it's so worth it. It's so hard, but it is so worth it. And knowing that I've been able to be part of it all has been the biggest blessing ever. And sacrifices have had to be made. Like I said, I am a single mom, a working single mom. So it hasn't been easy. And I know a lot of homeschool parents who have had to make financial sacrifices, who have had to make time sacrifices, right? But I've never heard of a mom say, oh, how I regret the time I spent with my kids. Never. I feel like that's the one thing you will never regret. It's not going to be easy, but everything that is good for you isn't easy. And the most important part is you're not alone. This is heaven work, right? This is discipleship. This is what you're being called to. And God wouldn't call you to do something and leave you alone for it. If he's calling you to it, if you're feeling the pull to do it, if there's so many things happening in the world that are making you think, hey, I want to do it, but what if I'm not prepared enough, I'm not smart enough, I didn't go to college, whatever the case may be. One, if I can do it, anybody can do it, right? I didn't go to college. I'm not the smartest person in the world. My testimony, man, if you know, like one day I'll share that, but anybody can do this. Not because we're able and more than capable, but because we serve a God that helps us be capable, and that every part of the gap that we might have, he's going to fill. Every shortcoming, he'll take care of. Every time when you're exhausted and you feel like you can't, he will give you back energy, and he will make you better, and he will sanctify you and grow you, and your relationship with your children will be so much better for it. And when they reach graduation, you're going to be so proud. But above all, you're going to be able to see God's hand in every second of your homeschool. And that is what is such a blessing. And that is what makes it worth it. And helping shape the little kids that you have today into women and men of God. Oof. Like, I don't want to think about, college or growth anytime soon, but being able to see that growth and one day getting to that point, I think it's going to be the biggest blessing in my life. Because being a mother, I think for every mom, is the most amazing thing in the world. So if you're feeling, God calling you to do so, go for it. You're not alone. There's so many of us, and more than anything, you have God. And with him, everything is possible. All right, friends. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. And if you are already homeschooling, please share in the comments why you started, and maybe give some advice to those moms who are considering homeschooling, because I feel like, it takes a village, and it's so important that we support each other. All right, thank you. Have a great day.